Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cryptic Conversations. I'm your host, Tunes from the Crypt. We have another very special episode in store today. Today's guest is a woman named Hanna Stone, also known as the Chakra Queen. Hanna is a certified Reiki practitioner and intuitive chakra coach. Her mission is to guide her clients on a transformative journey of healing and self-discovery, helping them align with their soul's true essence. Hanna's personal journey has been filled with troubling situations from an early age, which led her to take a leap of faith, leaving Israel, her country of origin, and venturing to the United States with a mere $30 in her pocket in 2016. Hanna believes that deep within each of us lies a treasure trove of abilities and gifts waiting to be activated. These treasures are not something you need to acquire, rather they're already within you, patiently waiting to be remembered. Her somatic healing work helps you overcome past traumas, engage in deep shadow work, and accelerate your healing process. Hanna is here to support the healing of society, and I'm honored to have her with us today, so welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Oh, I love that description. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, thank you for being here. So I
Yeah.
thought I thought we could start this episode just kind of, I could give a brief recap of our work together, how I met you and how that went real quick, and then we could dive into it. So, yeah, for the listeners, as many of I'm on my spiritual journey over the past few years, and I'm at this point in my life where I'm trying out anything and everything. I'm trying out different spiritual techniques, and I had a lady on my podcast. She's a spiritual awakening coach, and she kind of planted the seed with me. She kind of told me, she told me kind of like she thinks the next part of my journey is doing some more shadow work, some inner child work, right? And then literally like right after she said that, I think it was like a day or two, your stuff started popping up on my Facebook feed. And then I was like, you know what, like this seems perfect. Like that's exactly what you do. So I was like, all right, like let me try it out. You know what I mean? And so I want to give you kudos. I want to commend you. I really like your process, the way you do things. There's a lot of spiritual coaches and spiritual practitioners out there. Some are good, some are kind of frauds, and they'll sell you. So I want to, for the listeners, be careful with who you work with. There's a lot of spiritual people that are popping out in their coach, and they offer all kinds of promises and all that. But anyways, I really liked your technique, your approach. Your questionnaire was so detailed. It was so detailed. So that's where I really knew I was like, yeah, this is going to get very deep, very specific to me and what I needed. So yeah, if you can, tell the listeners about your approach.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, my approach really involves going into the body. So the way I work with energy, obviously, like you said, I'm a chakra coach. So working with the energy is really close to my heart, specifically with the chakras. And I like to combine it with the physical body, so a lot of somatic work. So the way I like to work with it, I like to translate whatever is arising, whether if it's mental, energetic, emotional, physical. I like to kind of translate it into the physical body. And the way we really do this work is we first become aware. So it can go from anything, like I literally have shoulder pain, or I have headache, fever, or to I feel lack of self-worth or addiction to something or whatever it may be. So in this process, we kind of find where the thing that we're working with, where it kind of being stored in the body. So in the process, when I do the energy healing, what the energy healing is doing is really kind of bringing things to the front row, and really helps with the connection of you to yourself, to your soul, to your higher self, to really like being able to see more. So a lot of visions will come up, a lot of words, sentence, more intuition from the person. Like, let's say I'm working with you, so from you, as you experience. And it's really about really building relationships with different parts of ourselves. So if I have addiction, for example, on, food addiction, for example, then it's really about kind of become aware of it. First of all, that's always like the first step. More than 75% is the awareness. And then we start working with it, like really find where we hold it in our body. And we kind of identify. So that's a somatic piece where we find shape, color, texture. So we kind of can understand what it is that we're working with. And then we start to have a like develop a relationship with it, to really have a communication with it. So we start going in there, and of course the process can go into thousands of million directions, but it's really about, you know, really starting to ask questions, the part of you that is addicted, for example. So, you know, where did you come from? Why are you here? What do you want to teach me? What do you want to show me? How can I support you? So there's a lot of ways that we can basically create a relationship. Sometimes it's just acknowledging it, that's really creating a shift. Sometimes it's just, you know, giving it space and just being with it. But really the intention is more to build a relationship rather than fix or change anything. And usually when we build a relationship, there's already a shift that's like happening. And then like the last piece I really wanted to say, that the main thing, the foundation of my method and the way I like to work is, I personally don't like to tell people what I see, like a lot of other healers. I think there's benefit for that too, but the way I like to work is I like to lead my client to their own body and their own inner knowing, that their body, like, because I think our body is such a intelligent, you know, vessel that knows anything honestly beyond time and space. Like I feel like our body knows, our body holds information from different existence, from different dimensions, and when once we know how to connect with it, then we can really you know, find like answers. So in this process, like I'm leading you to connect with your own body, and asking the questions your own body, and then you're going to receive the answers from your own body, whether if it's with an image that's going to come up, maybe a memory, a sentence, sometimes a word, sometimes like there's a feeling that kind of comes up, and then we kind of keep exploring and see what it brings up. So that's like one thing. Another thing that like I'm also kind of interweaving, and that's kind of like the same idea, because again, I work with the chakras, and it's really everything in the chakras, from our most, you know, childhood traumas, our deepest ones, into, you know, the third eye and the crown, which is like more spiritual stuff. So in the process, a lot of times, and usually I do it with clients that I've been working with them more, is doing a guided visualization when we go and meet their spirit guides, or like I lead them to meet their spirit guides or their you know, loved ones who passed. And so again, I'm not like, you know, a lot of mediumship is like, you know, you'll talk to someone and they'll tell you what they get, what they receive, and they'll tell you. So I personally, the way I like to work is I like to bring the client to their loved one who passed, and to them communicate with them, and, you know, ask questions and receive, you know, feel, you know, different things. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's a very detailed response. And yeah, something I want to, kind of piggyback on and touch on with you is how I'm realizing, like you said, how our bodies are such a powerhouse, such a storehouse for information. And that's something that I'm realizing, I feel like I'm a person, I'm in my head a lot. I need to get out of my head sometimes. Like I'm so much in my head. Like I spend so much time thinking, just always like I'm out in nature and I'll meditate, but then I'm always thinking. I need to get out of my head. And it's making me realize that, I think society, and especially in the Western world, we're so like in our head, or like we want to numb ourselves. We don't want to feel things, especially for men, men, we don't want to feel our emotions. We bottle everything in. And it's like, if we can learn to just sit with ourselves and listen, feel our body, like, what are we feeling? Like, seriously, sit there, like, what are you feeling? And you'll be surprised what information comes up.
Yes, I love that you said that. Thank you so much for saying that. It's so important what you just said, because it is like, as a society, it's not, you know, it's not just you. We're all like being so programmed to be in our mind and to, you know, control things in our mind, because you know, and it's like something, the way I see it is like, we haven't been feeling safe in our body for so many, like, you know, thousands of generations. It goes back, like it goes really far back. And so, but it's like, it's kind of tricky, because our mind, a lot of times, not to demonize the mind, I think the mind is an amazing tool once it's like really in coherence with the
Oh
body.
yeah.
But it's like, you know, I think like when the mind can be very aggressive sometimes and very controlling and give messages that are just simply not true. It can be a story, it can be something from something, where the body is like so subtle. It's very subtle, but it's like just truth. And like once we are able to really tune in with our feelings, it's such a gift and a tool to really like have a, you know, life that is much more in flow.
Oh yeah, I love that. Okay, so talk to me about your early life. Tell us a little bit about the challenges you faced in Israel and why you decided to leave. Feel free to share as much or as little as you feel like talking about.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, I honestly, the one thing I want to say that I do love sharing about it. I feel like the reason why I love sharing about it is because first, I feel like it's very healing for me to share about it. But I also, if there's anyone that's like listening to it and they are having a struggle and like they go through something that's really hard or like, rough, like it's kind of giving a little encouragement to know that you can, work through and you can move past like challenges and hardships. So I was born and raised in Israel in a Orthodox cult. Like it's a very super, super extreme Orthodox religion that it's pretty much, I mean, there's a lot of endless rules that are really, really extreme. One of the things that's kind of been coming up for me lately is the separation of men and women from a very, very young age. So men, the boys and the girls, they have different schools, different systems, different things. And so that separation, it goes really deep in like there's a lot of rules around, men not allowed to look at women and women have to dress a certain way. So I was just sharing it with someone like about a week ago, like how women need to cover their collarbones and their elbows and their knees. And obviously, they're not allowed to wear pants, only long skirt, stockings, kind of like loose clothes. So it's not going to be very tight. And like the thing I remember, like you can't show your elbow because that may like turn on men. And if you as a woman, you turn on men, then you're the one who's gonna go to hell. So it's really like distorted and very yeah, like women are very repressed. The feminine is very, very, very repressed. And just like really like even I'm thinking like the bus, the public transportation in the bus, like the women in the back, the women are staying at home, taking care of the kids. They're also the ones that have to work. They're ones that take care of the husband so that the husband can sit and study the Bible and study the holy teachings basically. And it's like the programming goes so deep that the women like wants to like to have a good husband is to have a good, a husband that sits and study the Bible and, so that they can support him in that. And it's like, and I was speaking about it because, it's so forbidden for men to look at women, even to look at them. I just even remember being 6 years old and, walking on the sidewalk as my dad was walking in front of me, like to the other side. And he was like literally putting his hand on his eyes, like looking the other way. And I had to tell him, hey, Dad, it's me, being 6 years old. So it's like very, very, goes really deep. And the thing, that's the problem that it creates is because also in that society, it's not allowed to have internet, music. I mean, they have like their own specific music, radio, movies. I mean, it's just like a lot of forbidden things, or the internet is the worst thing you can do. So when you're not allowed to look at women, then kids become normal. Like for men, it's like it becomes normal to like go for kids. Not normal in a way that like it's out there and everybody talks about it, but normal in a way that, internally for men, because it's so forbidden to look at women, then, we're humans, we have our needs and, you just go for kids. So there's a lot of things are happening for kids in that community, around, sexual abuse or just like, harassment and all of that type of stuff. And so that's like something that, because I've been actually processing a lot of my own sexual trauma from when I was 4 years old from that community. And like it just brought up a lot of confusion for me. I was like, when did it happen? What happened? Who was that? It's just like a lot of, I have an idea of, I know who was that in one case, but it's just like there was so much more. And I was talking to my aunt, who's like my spiritual teacher, and she was like, a lot of times, like you can't even put a finger on it. It's not like one thing that happened in one place. It's the energetics that were, especially as a sensitive kid, we're picking up the energetics, and it's kind of like we feel it's very confusing, the energetics, because it feels like it happened, but it didn't really happen. And I feel like also, it's not just in that community, in general, in the world, in the collective, that energetics is very strong in the collective that we're in, with all sex trafficking and all of that. But yeah, going back to where I came from, I personally was born and raised in a family of 11 kids. So I have 10 siblings, and that's like their thing. Like, so it's the more the better kids, like, and honestly, like, men are not allowed to waste their sperm, quote unquote, if it's not in the purpose of having a kid, or kids. So that's kind of like the mindset behind it. And so I was the middle, five older than me, five younger than me. And I was also the black sheep of my mom. So me and my mom growing up, me and my mom were like really but heads, like, did not get along at all. And when I was 14, it was time to go to high school. I told my parents, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like, I was just really waiting for a moment that I can like get out of the house and not be here anymore. And my mom was like, and my both my parents, especially my mom, was like, great, we don't want you here. So it was like kind of like a handshake. Perfect. I'm out of here. Yay. I'm free. But then, it was like 3 years of going to different boarding schools, that each one, all of them were religious, but every year I went to a less and less and less, because I just couldn't handle it, the intensity of the religion and the control and the rules. Until the third time, it was very like light religion, because there's a lot of different levels, of course. And after the third year, I was like, you know what, this is just not for me. I just don't, it's just not something I'm gonna do. And then I went to my grandparents' house, and yeah, it's like stayed there and then joined the army. And then after the army, I kind of moved here a little bit after. So it was quite a journey.
Yeah, wow, that is a journey. So, I mean, why the United States? Like, I mean, obviously a lot of people want to come here, for opportunity and all that. Did you have family over here waiting, or what was that journey like?
Yeah, so my dad is actually was born and raised in America. My dad
Oh,
actually moved to Israel when he was 25. So I
mm,
always had family, and honestly, I felt closer to my family here in the US, and just never felt like, I always knew I'm not going to stay in Israel. It's
mm,
even though, again, I came from Israel, from a very specific city, like a bubble, like most Israelis, like normal people, but I came from a very like extreme Orthodox city. But even then, I was just like, I never felt the belonging in the city, of course, but also in the country. I just never felt belong.
yeah. So, what about do you still have family over there? Are you in contact with them, or did they all come over here? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I still have my parents are still in Israel, and my most of my siblings. I only have two sisters here in the US, and all of my father's side. So his sisters are here, his mother, and cousins, and all of my father's side, because they're all Americans. But everyone else is in Israel.
Okay, yeah, and something I wanted to touch on is this the saying, don't judge a book by its cover, because when I look at you, it's like, I see this girl who's like so well put together and all that, but you never know someone's story, you know what I mean? You never know what someone's been through, and so what sparked your journey into Reiki and chakra coaching?
Yeah. I started my healing journey in 2020. It was actually after it was COVID started, and I went to Israel to visit, and something happened in Israel that kind of really like put me in a very low spot. Israel in general is a very triggering place for me, because there's so much trauma for me from that place, and that background. And I came back to the US, and I was in a very low state, and I was like, okay, I don't have anywhere else lower to go from here. I can only go higher. And so I started working with this somatic coach that I worked with. She was from Israel, so we did a lot of like we did Zoom, and I was working with her for 3.5 years, one-on-one. And it was a very like deep work. Even one like a few times we went back. It was a somatic, but also guided imagery. So a lot of going back to childhood, a lot of even going back to my mother's womb twice. One time there was a past life that came in from Egypt, that really with details of what happened and how I died in that past life. And so it was really, really deep work for 3.5 years that I did with her. And after that, I got into like plant medicine. I started, getting into like plant medicine, and that totally like opened something for me that was like way it was like like, okay, we're taking it up a notch a little bit. And also the main reason because it was also with community. So I've done a lot of work on my own for 3.5 years. And then after that, it was like, okay. And when you like, if you know, when you to do the work on your own, it feels it feels good. I love doing the work, and I'm still obviously doing it on my own. I love it, but there's a certain place you can hit, and like when you start doing it with other people and with community, it's like way more challenging because most of the trauma that happened to us, that happened with people. So all of a sudden, like being in contact with people is like starting to, it's definitely kind of brought up. But then I had my big spiritual awakening around a year and a half ago. Like, so it was like a full-on Kundalini awakening. It was on a medicine journey. And then after that, that was like the first time that I really remembered who I am, and that I really realized how many masks I put on my entire life that are not even freaking close to the truth of who I am. I could really see I could really feel my soul and who I really am, the truth. And that kind of led me to, after that, I got really curious about the chakras. And I can't really tell you what was the thing that sparked it, because when you have like something that you just feel drawn to, that you feel the pull to go into, like you can feel the calling. So that's how it was for me with the chakras. So I got into it. I started studying it for, it was a little bit before my spiritual awakening when I started getting into it. So I started really studying it. I, read a lot of books. I, was watching a lot of videos about it, really went into it. And at some point in my studying the chakras, about a year after, I started feeling like it kind of coming to me like intuitively. Like, so I started feeling like when someone is talking to me and they're sharing about their experience and they're talking about, how they're operating in the world and what they're experiencing, I could kind of see visuals and kind of feel what's happening in their chakras. Oh, your sacral chakra is, this is what I'm seeing here, and like how it's kind of like translating into the map of the chakras. So, and then, with that journey, one time, it started in medicine journey, but also mainly in meditations too, because my meditations always like really kind of going in there, where my energy healing was activated in the meditation. Um, where in the beginning, like my finger were moving like this, like my aunt called it like weaving. And I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing it. It feels like I don't feel like I'm controlling my fingers when it moves. So I was curious about it. So I kept on, when I would go in meditations, I would just like playing with it, and I would just like feel what happens to my hand, and like just kind of letting it go, like letting it flow. And I mean, it started with just my fingers, and then it became like this whole thing, like my everything basically. And I was, really curious about it. So I started doing a lot of processes with myself, on myself, like really laying in bed and really feeling what's happening in my body, and like with the energy healing, and really feeling, moving a lot of emotions and all of the, really feeling a lot of things, and getting, things while I'm doing it, like receiving, information. And I was like, wow, this is really like, okay. And then, so I kept on doing it. And the somatic work that I'm doing, it's something that I've done with my coach. So I had a lot of understanding around it because I've done it for so many years. So I decided to combine this with the energy healing with the chakras. And later I was like, that's when I really thought about getting like really doing it with other people, after doing it by myself on myself for like about a year. I really I said to myself, well, if I want to do something like that, I have to have a certification. That's what I thought. I had to have a certification, and to really, get certified with Reiki, because otherwise, like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I got certified with Reiki, and when I was doing the Reiki course, I was like, it's not the same. It's not even close. It's not the same at all. Like, it felt to me like Reiki is, no offense to Reiki, I think it's an amazing practice, and I really love it, but it felt very old to me. It felt like hundreds of years old, where this thing that kind of came through for me, this energy, I call it energy keyboarding, because I feel like I'm keyboarding on the infinite energy field. We're in an infinite energy field, and I feel like I'm working on the keyboard, programming or something like that. And so I was, and this felt to me like from the future. It felt to me something new that, but it's also felt to me like a remembering. It didn't feel to me like I was learning something new. It felt to me like, oh, I just remember it. And I really, really have this deep knowing, and I really truly believe that we all have, whether if it's, I believe everybody can do it, but also I believe that it's either there's a lot of form of energy healing, and and it doesn't have to be with hands, it can be with a lot of different ways, but I really believe there's a lot of, and we all have like abilities to kind of tap into it. But yeah, that's kind of like what led me to this, to what I do now. In the beginning I actually did it because, I don't know if you know, but I was a fitness and nutrition coach for 5 years. And towards the end of my journey, I started like specifically focusing on women to overcoming negative relationship with food and body image, because that's something that I was struggling a lot with on my journey. And then so when I started doing this, I was kind of like bringing this work. But if you have someone is struggling with emotional eating, binge eating, like they come to me, and then what the work that we're actually doing is working with the chakras and the energy healing. But this is kind of like the message I was hiding behind for a few months. I actually did this for probably like 9 months with this message. And then after 9 months, I actually had a really long process where I was like working on my throat chakra, which was really blocked. And still, my throat chakra is the one that has the most problems for me specifically. And so I had like this process where I did, like, my hand was on my throat for like, I don't know, like 6 hours, just working on my throat chakra that night. And a lot of stuff came out of my throat chakra, like a lot of really like, I don't even want to say, like a lot of stuff came out. And then a few, like literally, I think a week later, I mean, but it kind of happened with like levels. I realized, like, why am I hiding behind this message of helping women overcoming negative relationship with food and body image, and not saying what I'm actually doing? So there was a fear, in my throat chakra. Throat chakra is associated with speaking your truth, communicating, really expressing your authenticity. And after opening my throat chakra, I was like, why am I hiding? Like, I was afraid of speaking my truth. So that's when I started kind of talking about what I'm actually doing, which was really scary. It was so scary to, like, who am I? What do I know? And then I just kind of started practicing with people, and that's how I got there.
I love that. Yeah. So much to unpack there. Yeah, because I remember in our session together over Zoom, I was like closing you said it was okay to close my eyes or whatever. And so I was closing my eyes and I was letting you do your thing. And and there was a couple of times there where I was concerned, did the Wi-Fi disconnect or something? I just wanted to make sure or whatever. And so I kind of would peek, I would open my eyes and I saw you doing that stuff with your hands. And I was like, dude, what is she doing? Something's working, you know what I mean? So that's what you were doing, that weaving thing, right? That's what you were
Yeah.
doing? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I
And
don't
and,
think
and I, the thing with the weaving thing also, like, you can work with it like with everything, like literally anything you can think of. If you want to work on anything that's related to the infinite energy field that we live in, and it's basically everything. If you want to even attract certain things, or like, bring certain things like health, whatever you want to call in, you can kind of work with it. And I do want to say for you and for the listeners too, is like, so sometimes it's like you can start kind of working with your hands, but like not necessarily know what you're doing, but just like kind of follow the intuition of where your hands want to go. And I think like the also a big piece is intention, is having an intention of what you're trying to work on.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't think I told you this in the questionnaire that I filled out, but when I did my ayahuasca retreat on that second night of the ceremony, changed my life, man, so profound. And when I came out of when I broke through and I came out of it, I remember having an experience where I literally felt like all my chakras were rebooted. It was so profound. It was very strange. So I think this is a perfect segue, So can you tell the listeners, for the listeners who are not familiar, what are the chakras, their names and their purpose?
Yes. So I do want to say, if I really go in depth in about the chakras, I could talk for probably 4 hours, but because there's a lot there. So I just want to kind of name that.
Summary, yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, the chakras are basically energy centers in our body. So it's like spheres of energy. And because it's energy, it's not something you can physically see with your physical eyes. It's not like it's way more light than the density of our body, because our body is also energy, but it's just way more dense. And so it's basically, we have way more than seven. But there are some people say 100, or there's different people say different things, but I like to work with the seven main one, and we have like the seven main ones, which the first one is the root, which is in the base of the spine. It's red in color, and it's more like a masculine energy. This one is associated with earth element, and it's the one that's really associated with safety, security, stability, belonging, groundedness. And it's also related to all the groups that we came from. So country, religion, race, kind of like related to where we came from. So that's the root, and it's also the base, obviously the base, the foundation of the building. So when really, one thing I want to say about the root, because it's so important, a lot of people when you start doing chakra work, they try to go in through the third eye. They really want to open their third eye to have the psychic abilities and all that. But it's so freaking important to start from the root, because it's the foundation of the building, and that's going to determine how the rest of the building is going to look like. And also the root, both root and sacral, the first two, are also like being hijacked by our society, because there's so much information that we're encoding in those two that are in the collective, that are past lives, that are generational. So it's like, just for you being a human on planet Earth, even if you didn't do anything, you're already being hijacked with those two. So it's so important to work on those two first, to create that foundation. So that's the root, the first one. Second one is sacral, and it's in the womb space area. It's the one that's it's orange in color, it's feminine energy and the water element. And it's the one that's associated with creativity, sexuality, sensuality, one-on-one relationships, pleasure, joy, emotions. So it's very flowy type of energy to that one. Obviously, a lot of sexual energy, sexual, trauma is going to be encoded there, as well as addiction too. And from here, we're going to go to the third one, which is the solar plexus, which is in like right below the rib cage. It's yellow in color. It's masculine energy. And this one is fire element. This is the one that's associated with our sense of self, our identity in the world, who we are in the world, our self-worth, self-esteem, confidence, willpower, courage, strength. It's more that external, like powerful, our personal power. So this is the first three chakras are the one that's associated with the physical realm. So root, sacral, and solar. Those are associated with the physical realm. So also a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of things from, physical, experience is going to be in that. And that's why for me, usually, obviously heart and throat are also really important, but like, I mean, obviously all of them, but like in terms of like the work that I'm doing, usually like the base of the work is in those two chakras. Of course, again, a lot throat and heart too, and sometimes, upper. And then there's the heart. It's in the center of the chest. It's green in color, feminine energy, and it's the element of air. This one is associated with unconditional love, with empathy, compassion, forgiveness, kindness, gratitude. It's like that higher level love, because the lower level love is like in the sacral chakra, where we have one-on-one relationships, but the heart chakra is that universal love, like unconditional love, right? So that's like the, how you can differentiate, but really they all work together. They're not separate. So that's the heart, and the heart is the one that's is basically the bridge between the lower three, the physical, the upper three, the spiritual. From the heart, there's the throat chakra. It's in the center of the throat. It's blue in color. And it's the element of ether, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think so. And then this is the one it's also masculine, and this is the one that's associated with like speaking our truth, communicating, expressing authenticity, being authentic, so this one really works a lot with really all of them. I mean, again, all of them are working together, but this one works a lot with solar plexus and with sacral chakra. So for example, sacral, you feel your emotions, and then this is how it's going to come out. You know, the creativity starts in the sacral, but it comes out of it, of the throat into the world. Same thing with solar plexus. This is where you set your boundaries. You speak your, you know, your who you are, right? And this is how it comes out to the world from the throat. So this is a throat. The sixth one is the third eye in between the eyebrows, and this one is purple indigo in color. It's the element of light, and it's associated with our inner wisdom. It's also feminine, psychic abilities, our dream world, our mind, you know, having a clear mind, you know, intuition. So it's a more like, that's why a lot of people want to be in this one, because it's really amazing and fun up here. But like, again, you have to build the foundation, because then it creates like an unbalance, and then it can create problems in the, you know, in the long run. And so that's the sixth. And then the seventh one is the crown chakra. It's just right above our head, and it's either pink, white, or gold. It kind of depends. And this one has actually no polarity, so it doesn't have masculine or feminine. It's just, you know, it's just like a pure consciousness, and it's associated with our spiritual connection, pure consciousness, unity, like the oneness, and our this like sense of knowing, and it's a element of thought. Yeah, so that's like in a, I guess, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I know that these are like the seven main ones, but I have also heard that, you know, there's different speculation on how many there actually are, but these are the seven main energy centers. So I'd like to ask you, you know, so like, what are some common energy blockages that you've seen in your clients, and how do they manifest in everyday life?
Yeah. Well, there's a, I mean, the most, like the two ones that I see most often, that it feels to me like the like the root of things, it's things around safety and things around self-worth. So safety is usually going to manifest in the root, self-worth is going to manifest in the solar plexus. Obviously there's also a lot of addiction, and addiction can go from alcohol addiction to being addicted to figure things out, you know. It's so there's like a whole spectrum. I think we're all addicted in some way or another to one thing or another, but like the blockages can manifest in different ways, because sometimes it'll feel like physical, like literally physical pain. Like I feel physical, you know, physical in my body, but it can also manifest as a certain behaviors, like, you know, like negative body image, or, you know, like stress, depression, anxiety, you name it, like yeah, addiction. There's a lot of ways that blockages can come up, like even you know, the way your relationships are, like if you're codependency, or like the way you struggle with like with relationships sometimes, and like not just like with partnership, like but also platonic, and like, you know, um really expressing, you know, feeling your emotions, or expressing your truth, expressing your authenticity. So there's a lot of different ways that, like, literally anything, I mean, you name it, just like have a struggle that's kind of coming up in your life. It could be some type of blockage that is coming up. And the way I see it, like, again, like the chakras are energy centers, and they're basically just energy flowing, and it's like it's either it's like balanced or it's unbalanced. And when it's unbalanced, it can be blocked, it can be almost, it's not real, it's not a physical black or white thing, but like it's again, it's energy, so it's not like something physical that is tangible, but it can be either blocked, weak, too open, and also it can be balanced. And it can also be, because it's energy and it's multidimensional, and that's why it's really confusing, it can be all at once at the same time. Like your sacral chakra, for example, it can be blocked, it can be too open, it can be, you know, balanced, and it can be weak all at the same time in different aspects, and it comes into play in different ways. So it's like, that's the thing, like I feel like a lot of times, like our brain trying to like make sense of things and make it very black or white, but it's not black or white. And really, the reason why I love working with the chakras is because when we really working on bringing the flow back into our energy centers, basically, in other words, very, very simply put, is bringing the right amount of flow to each energy centers. That's when we are creating like an open channel, like a clear open channel. And that's where we remember who we are. We know exactly who we are. We're in our personal power. We, you know, we are able to connect with our higher self. We are able to, we feel safe, we feel grounded. How did you feel after you did the ayahuasca and all of your chakras were kind of opening up? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it was very profound. I mean, I died. I had an experience of dying, but they call it an ego death, right? But I felt like I died, and I was like scared. I was like, oh, am I gonna come back? You know? And then uh,
Wow.
and then I came back, and I was like, I think it was what I needed to like to appreciate life because it was like, God or whatever, took life from me, and it was like, okay, and then it was like, and then I came back, and it was like, all right, thank you, all right, yeah, I appreciate life, I just everything, and I remember coming back and just like I was looking at the trees and the birds and like just the simple things, man, like the things that we take for granted. And I was just like, oh my God, I love the birds. I love the trees. I love the sun, the sky, the wind. Anyways, but yeah. And on day two, I was laying there on my yoga mat and it was just like boom, boom, boom. I felt all of them just like they were powered back on. That was the best way I could describe it.
Mm,
Yeah, it was super profound. So
yeah.
I'd like to ask you, so how can people, protect their energy from external influences, especially in a world filled with negativity?
Yeah, that's a very like interesting topic for me because I feel like there's a lot of emphasis in the spiritual communities, like you have to protect your energy, and I feel like it's important, obviously, but it's also there is like a felt sense that like basically, oh, you're weak, you have to protect your energy, you have to put shield around you. And I think, obviously it's like important to keep, your energetic hygiene clean, but it's also like, you're a really powerful, multidimensional being. Like I guess it depends. Like, what is the energy that you come with? Do you come from an energy of fear? Like, I'm afraid of all the energies to come towards me, and so I have to protect myself because I'm weak. Or do you just kind of want to, stay clean, right? Energetically, because especially as empaths, and I think everybody's an empath. It's just kind of a matter of like remembering more. It's just our kind of human nature. This is the way I see it, but it's like we all, picking up stuff. And I think, especially if you like work with people, but even if you're not work with people, if you're a sensitive person, if you're an empath, and if you really feel how it affects you, then of course I think it's important. There are a lot of I really love using like the intention and the visualization. So actually one thing I heard recently, I used to do it in a lot of different ways, but you can literally like work, and you can either do it with your hands however they want to move, or you can just visualize it, within you. So you can use the four elements. So like intention, like imagine like fire, like the indigo, like the how do you call it, the flame, how do you call it, the purple flame, the fire, I forgot the name of it. Oh my God, it's like just ran out of my, anyways, like you imagining like the violet
Oh
flame,
yeah.
like you imagine the violet flame to like kind of comes in, from your body and kind of like burns everything that's basically not yours, and like, the energies that are kind of coming into you to kind of clear your energy. So that would be fire. Water, you can just imagine like water washing you over and clearing your energy, and it can be any moment, anytime. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Then we have the earth, and you can just imagine like, the earth is kind of taking everything back, especially if you're standing on the grass or sitting. And then the air, you imagine wind coming and like kind of washes over. You can also use like sacred geometry to kind of put around you, or golden egg to put around you. You can obviously use sage, Palo Santo to kind of clear yourself, but also like brushing, like on your skin. So like on your hands, on your body, on your legs. You can like jump, like, kind of like move your body, like vibrate your body, or like really like move your body, like a lot of movement to move. I also like to use drums to clear energy. So it's really there's a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love that. And something that I was thinking about right now too is like I can only imagine that with the work that you're doing, I bet you, or maybe, have you ever encountered some clients that you've worked with where it's like they've tried everything, they saw the doctor, they've tried all these things, and they just they couldn't figure out what was wrong with them, and then they come to you, and it's like, yeah, your chakras are out of balance. I can only imagine that that happens a lot. Where,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That happens a lot, especially with like the Western medicine. I feel like there's a lot of like put a band-aid on it, like fix it, like let's just put a band-aid on it and kind of bury it underneath. And like the whole process of what we're doing is to really, instead of put a band-aid on it, like shut it out, like and take it out of like, ignore it, we actually bring it out of the darkness, out of the shadow and be like, oh, let's get to know it. What's here? What is it trying to tell you and teach you? So there's definitely a lot of insights and a lot of things that are manifesting in a physical body, like physical pain or disease, that then like the person is like, oh my God, it's like related to this, the way that I treat myself, or the way that I my self-worth, or the way that I don't feel safe in the world, or it's just kind of like interesting ways how it manifests.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck or lost on their spiritual path?
The first thing that comes up for me is to like try to go inward and like really tune in with your own body, with your own self, with inside, because it can be so confusing to go out there and see the world. And like I feel like the message in our society, even in the spiritual world and the healing journey, is you have to do more, you have to do more to be better. So there's like a huge underlying message of not enoughness, that you always have to heal more, you always have to do more. And I really want to invite people to really go inside to this like pure awareness of pure being of who you are, and just like realize that, like really feel that you're already whole and that you're already perfect as you are. And like, of course, if someone is choosing to be on this journey, and like, I know I do, and I'm going to continue this, but there was a lot of messages for me that I'm noticing, that the motivation for me was like, because I don't feel enough and I have to do this work, and it's like I'm forcing myself to do this work to be enough in a certain way. And I really like want to really invite people to tune in with their heart, to really come with their heart. So the way that I personally like to do it is like, I'll physically put my fingers on the center of my chest, so my heart chakra. Like it's a little bit below. This is more the higher. Like, so the heart chakra is like, yeah, right there. And just to really feel the sensation of the finger on your heart, and just keep feeling it and just keep tuning in, and then like really listening, listening with the non-physical ears, and really like feel what it brings up, what your heart is telling you, because it can be so overwhelming and confusing in the world out there. But I also really see the if someone feels really stuck and in a really like lost place, I do like feel like there's a benefit, there's like something really powerful about like asking for support and asking for help. But it's like a lot of it is like really coming down to how do you feel inside, and like really let your emotion move through. Like, I mean, a lot of times when I feel like stress or anxiety, I go and sit with myself. I like to do video journaling, which is another thing that I would like to recommend. If someone feels really lost, like to start a camera, or or a voice note, and just like start speaking how you're feeling. Just close your eyes. I'm feeling right now anxiety in my chest, like it feels like this, and just kind of name what's coming up in your body and what you're feeling. Maybe you want to express, maybe you want to scream, maybe you want to vocalize, maybe you want to move in a certain way, and just kind of follow your body, how your body wants to move. Because the thing is, like, once you really tune in, your body is going to lead you. Like your body's going to lead you, whether if it's like vocalizing and movement and feeling your emotions. It's like the best ways to move energy. Like, it's so crazy. Sometimes I feel anxiety and I'll just like vocalize like in a certain way, and how much it like regulates me. And of course, sitting in nature, that's another thing. Like, nature is like really, helpful, because like mother nature is like holding so much, and she can hold you with whatever it is that you're going through, and just like to feel that energetic support is really helpful. So there's a few things, and all the things are, they're free. You can just do it on your own time. And yeah, I think this is really, that's what's coming up.
Nice. Okay. So I'd like to ask you too, like, have you encountered any strange or mystical experiences, either in a session or in your plant medicine ceremonies? Any strange experiences that you've had?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I had a lot. The one that's coming up, I mean, I have a lot of things happening in my dreams, like in during my sleep. I feel like you nodding. I feel like you have these experiences
Oh
too.
yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like there are like a lot of different dreams, like the different dream types. So I have like a regular quote unquote dream type. And then there are dreams that I feel like I'm going to the spirit realm, where like I'm going to the other side or something. There are some dreams that I'm in some realm that is super unclear. I'm not even sure where I'm at. It's like that in between, like etheric place. And then some dreams I feel like I've been traveling a lot to like different parallel realities and different, different worlds and realities. That was really interesting. So actually, so that one was really interesting. Where, but I guess like the one that's coming up for me now is the one that I was going to share earlier. Is I I went to sleep, and during my sleep I felt this like, I heard my mom actually did a YouTube video about it, but I heard my mom, she was like saying my sister's name, my brother name, and then her name, her own name. And she had like an original name, and then she changed her name. And the last, like her name was like, had an echo, and it was like very deep and sad. And then I heard like a spirit, like, I don't even know. I mean, at the time, I didn't know who that was. Now I know it was an ascended master, white buffalo calf woman. And she kind of went and she told me, give me your phone, when I'm asleep, in that in between. And I was like, what? Like, are you asking me to give, like, I wasn't sure that I'm hearing it right. Like, why do you want my phone? And then she's like, give me your phone. And I was like, what are you saying? And then apparently and by the way, I think, we hold a lot of stuff in our phone. Like our phones are like energy portal that a lot of like really like low vibration stuff are coming through our phones. So I think like this is why she was talking about that, because that's also came to me in another journey. But anyways, after that, she was kind of started doing like light language above me, when all of that while I'm asleep, and my partner is like next to me. So it's crazy because in my experience, she started doing this like light language and like, blowing air on me. And I could really feel it like physically in my body, but I was asleep in between, in that state. And then she started putting this like really powerful like um beam of white light, like just really high vibration into my womb space. And I was like, I remember like moving with my hands, and I was screaming. And at some point it was really painful, like because she was clearing a lot of stuff, and like especially went kind of to my left hip, and it was like really, really, really intense. And like I could hear people's voices in my ears, like basically people, it's not that like specific people, but the message was very loud and clear of people that like disempower, like with disempowering messages. You can't do this, you're not doing this right. Oh, you should be doing this, like it's like all these like messages that were in my ear. And I was like, shut up, shut the fuck up, while she was like working on me. Like it was like this very, I was like crying and screaming. And mind you, like I'm dead sleep. If you look at me from the outside, I'm dead sleep because my partner was next to me and he kept sleeping. So that was like a really like powerful, mystical, probably the most, I mean, I don't know, it's really, I can't really put like a most like more and
Yeah.
less, but that
Yeah.
one that was really powerful.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. So kind of closing it out here, can you share some simple techniques that the listeners can use to balance their chakras at home?
Yeah, so what's coming up for me, and I think that's a really great tool, that's actually what started to lead me to this work and to this depth that I'm in right now. And it's so simple. So every night before, from the moment you go to sleep, so from the moment you get in bed until you fall asleep, there's that window. A lot of times we think a lot of thoughts in this time, but this time it's really powerful if you take this time to really like do body scan and like really feel your body, like really notice, not necessarily with like the goal of fixing it or changing it, just to notice and acknowledging sensations or emotions that are arising in the body. And another thing that I really like doing, I like to take my hand and kind of put it above my chakras, but not touching, above my chakras, and just like feeling the energy. And usually it's very subtle, but I could feel like a tiny like thing of energy just kind of above. But it's like if you close your eyes and you do this, and then it's like you basically practicing feeling energies. And then you can also do it on the side of your body and like feel where it's more dense. Sometimes, like one time I left it on the left side of my chest, like I felt like dense energy, and I put my hand there, and it brought up this memory with my mom and the way she was treating me. And I started crying for like 10 minutes, and then bam, just stopped, and then it was cleared. So it's just a lot of things like that. But in terms of like balancing the chakras, there's actually a lot to it. But I actually would like to offer, for your listeners, because I have a PDF for chakras and how to, practice this and different things and different foods and crystals and practices and how it balance, how it unbalance. And I would like to, share and they can go into it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes here and I actually have that linked here. So I'll add that free PDF so the listeners can, visit your website and get that free PDF. So, like I said, kind of closing it out, how do you envision the future of your work and what role do you see yourself playing in it?
That's a good question. I really would like to expand more into do group work because I see the power of working in groups in community. So I would like to do, some online, but also in person here in Austin. Um, yeah, just kind of like really involving like the inner child work, shadow work, the chakras, all of that type of work. So that's definitely something that I'm calling in. I do love my one-on-one clients. I feel like I'm learning a lot from it, but I definitely see like really more drawn to do like group work and also creating a few courses for each chakra. This is something that I'm working on too, is like really kind of like, because again, there's a lot in each chakra. So the root chakra is going to be a whole course that's like really goes in depth, like really doing the work. And yeah, I think that's kind of like what's coming up now.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, I see on Facebook that you're definitely doing a lot of community events. So yeah, if you're in the Austin, right? If you're in the Austin area, reach out to Hannah.
Yeah, I do.
Um,
I do a lot of workshops events. Like, so for example, there's two events that are coming up now. I just kind of set an example. Actually, the one that is coming up now is it's actually online too. So it's good because we do it in person, but it can be online because it's just going to be guided visualization with sound healing. I'm collaborating with my friend, and she's a holographic sound healer, and she's doing light language and I like light language activations. And basically, I'm leading a guided visualization and, with energy healing and somatic guidance. And it's basically a journey to meet your higher self. So you can join, I mean, obviously in person in Austin, but it's also available online. And it's basically to kind of like what I said, how you go into this process of your guided visualization to meet your different parts, your loved who passed, and your higher self. And then you can ask questions, you receive guidance. So that's one thing that's coming up. And the other thing, we have actually women's workshop coming up also at the end of next month, both of them at the end of next month. And so that one is a sacral chakra awakening workshop, sensual embodiment for women only. And this is like more in depth, like around sensuality for women. But I definitely am feeling more called to do workshops like that. So like root chakra workshop and just kind of like chakra workshops in, for both men and women, but that specific one is more for women. But yeah, this is definitely something that I'm excited about.
awesome. I love it. Thank you for the work that you're doing. So can you send the listeners out there a final message of love and healing, especially for the ones who might be struggling out there?
Yeah, I just want to invite you to really close your eyes and feel your heart. Put your hands on your heart. And I'm going to say a few words, and I want to invite you to see how it lands for you, how you feel it's kind of landing on your body, on your heart. And I want to say that you are enough and you are worthy. You're worthy of love, you're worthy of abundance, you're worthy of magical things happening to you. And you have an amazing gift within you. And you have keys to activate others that others don't have. You have your own unique gifts. And I'm just sending you so much unconditional love. And thank you for the work that you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you, Hannah, for meeting with me today. Thank you for providing such great wisdom and insights on this episode. I want to thank the listeners for sticking around to the end. So, Hannah, please tell everyone where to find your information, and I'll also add it to the description of the video.
Awesome. So you can find me on Instagram, the Chakras Queen. just kind of one word. And then my website is embodiedchakras.com. And then you can find a lot of things there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.